Mate, I really, really relish being in the comment section. I never got to be in there, and that was my fucking first time. One thing, though, when that happened, Dan, you're up fishing. Because you know how we sit sort of in the same room, the three of us. I was looking at the marketing spreadsheet. I'm like, updated by Dan Irwin.
Yeah, you said that.
And then I turned to Robbie. I'm like, mate, what the fuck's going on here? Is he getting in? And Robbie's like, nah, mate, there's no reception up there. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
It was. Mate, I wasn't really using it, but the old terminology, I think, when I was in the military was the 1,000-mile screwdriver. With the tyranny of technology, when you're miles and miles and miles away from actually what's happening at the coalface, you can still get, like, in the military, you can still have the UAV flying over the top, and you got the commander going, why isn't that dude bounding behind that tree over there? It's like, fuck off, mate. You're not in the battle, all right?
The 1,000-mile screwdriver. I love it. I love it. Kenny Herman's in the house. Ben Hinton. Hey, legends. Sammy Wynn. Hello. Sammy, let us know how you're feeling after having old mate over in the Mio for a little while. Love to check in on you there, and you can share sort of how you've been handling stuff back here. Sophie Grove's in the house. Yes, it has been fixed, Soph. We've got our senior executive producer on tonight, the amazing Noah. Shawnee Thomas, legends to you as well, brother. That's amazing. I know you got your finance approved for your second property during the week, which is fucking excellent. Beck Hinton's in the house. Benny Hinton said, does this mean that the lurkers are now doing a Dan? Well, yeah, we can say.
Dan was just being a mad creeper, mate. Yeah. That's what was happening.
Well, he didn't want to let us know, Ben, that he was listening in from afar, because when I went up there 4 years ago and fucking broke my ankle, there was no internet whatsoever. So I've obviously progressed things up there a little bit. Mm-hmm. Have a look, like, if you're interested, and Benny Hinton, no doubt you'll fucking put the link in within the next 30 seconds. Where Dan went is a place called Haggerston Island, Haggerston, Haggerston Island. It's fucking up near bloody Thursday Island somewhere,
mate. It's closer to New Guinea than it is to any like Australian civilization.
It's right on the edge of the Australian, of the international bloody maritime zone.
Got a picture of Robbie up there. We're not allowed back.
A memorial picture. It's got
it's a picture of Robbie and a big red cross. Don't get it.
No, it's a fucking me sitting on the helicopter going, get me out of here. Fuck. Christopher Williams is in the house. Kelly Marie's in the house. Joyce Simmons there. Gordon Spooner. G'day, lads. A massive thank you to Nat for a progress picks whilst being on the big blue. 100%. Righto, awesome. Let's so we got some bloody legends in the house today, which is really great. There you go, Benny Hinton, Haggerston Island. Fucking go. Sorry, mate. That was probably 40 seconds, not 30.
You're slipping. You're slipping, Ben. Like a month ago, mate, you would have had that already loaded up, ready to go before Robbie had finished saying
Why didn't you know I was going to say that?
Here we are.
So, for those sort of first-time listeners here tonight, it's all about us talking about your ADF housing entitlements. We're going to talk about the property market in general. If you guys want to get a bit of an update about what's happening sort of in the market, what's going on with delays, et cetera, more than happy to cover off on that sort of stuff. Any other things you got to do with like veteran support, ADF transition, whatever you want, really. It's a bit of an open book. There has been zero preparation done by us for this session. There has been zero preparation by us doing these sessions for the last we started 18 months ago. Probably 3 months into it, we're like, let's just fucking do it on the fly. We've been doing it on the fly ever since. So here we are.
It's to be perfectly honest, RT, the best sessions come when those creepers, Ben, those creepers that were lurkers, I should say, the lurkers that we were talking about in the background, they come out with questions because you might have been like a long-time listener, first-time caller or first-time commenter, but you finally mustered up the courage to not be anonymous on the internet and type a message in there, and you're probably going to ask a question that there's 5 other people online tonight want to know the answer to. So if you ask a question, you're doing a favor and you're going to get exactly out what you're actually looking for out of the night session, and certainly value adds to your own Wednesday night as well.
What you guys also get to experience is that because Dan runs his own team, Dane runs his own team, I run my own team. So we're the 3 property coaches. Those guys are the property coaches. So I'm sort of the chief strategist, and I chuck in there. I jump in there and
mate, you're back on mate. You've been back on the tools for like 2 weeks. It's been good.
Yeah, and all of it, mate. I'm loving it. It's really, really good.
We were having a bit of a joke, Dan, when we're sitting in the waiting room. I go, Robbie, you're like WD-40. The wheel's starting to go again because he's like, we secured this lot, we secured that lot. I'm like. Once again, there's a burial at the saddle.
Mate, it's just like you can see like the caked on dust. It's like the steam train, mate. Just like chugga.
Fucking what is it? The old, bold, and reliable. Put it that way.
There you go. Absolutely. No, it's good. What was that? Sammy Wynn had a great chat with Deb a couple of weeks back. Can't wait to get started with number 2. But he isn't our one and only lovely Deb. I don't know if she's online tonight, but I'll give her a special shout out. But isn't she just a phenomenal part of the wider Axon group? The difference and the strength that she brings from being such an awesome financial strategist is just next level, right?
It is phenomenal. I'm having the amazing privilege and honor to speak to heaps of repeat clients that are coming back through to go, we just finished building our first property. When can we do it again? I'm like, no dramas. Let's put together a plan for you, but we must get you in touch with Deb so she can ratify the numbers. As AB Robbo jumps on the screen here with him and his amazing fiancée, Megan, they've literally just gone through this whole process now. It's also been complemented by that really detailed software modeling program, Your Wealth, Your Way, with Jace Cosgrove. So they're getting the coach and the strategist from an Axon perspective, Dan, and then they're getting Deb, and then they're getting Jace, the triangle of love. I've just made it up right now. I don't know.
That is absolutely not something that's going to stick either. No triangle of love.
But it's the triangle of love and care. How about we do that? That's
that makes it better.
Three key advisors. Dane, keep it PG, please. Keep it PG. We've got Junior Herman here listening in. I don't want to get it, and certainly Jane Kelly. Jane from Jim Boom is here tonight as well. We definitely want to keep it PG because I know she's got 14 kids fucking running around in the background.
Yeah. Well, what it actually is though, RT, it's not necessarily the triangle of love there, but it's right at the central nucleus of the commando approach to property, right? Right at the center is your strategy, and it's surrounded by finance, and it's surrounded by the numbers, the accountant as well. So to have those numbers at the center is absolutely bloody integral, as Jane sort of put it there, that it's certainly a requirement. Adam from the Gold Coast dialing in. Good to see you, buddy. It's about time you sort of came out from in hiding in the background there, but I'm glad that we do have Deb Rothsberg here tonight. A special shout out to you, mate. For those of you who don't know, there's a lot of people that are probably online, I suppose, that don't really know that Debbie previously used to work for another brokerage firm, but just recently she's also gone out and she started her own firm as well. So she's not only been an awesome superstar from a bloody broker perspective, but she's a small business owner running her own show and running her own life as well, which is just bloody phenomenal from that perspective.
Yeah, so good. So good. The power of the numbers is critical. And, Dane, I was just talking to – who the fuck was I talking to? I was talking to the amazing BJ and Chloe down in Wagga. And I said, we've even got to the stage now whereby, because you guys are on RA down there, Dane, from his financial planning background and heavy tax involvement and just loves squeezing every dollar out of the system, Dane, for one of a better word. I said to BJ and Chloe, I said, Dane actually went back to Deb and no, the 32 grand you're getting a year in RA is non-taxed. Because if you tax it, you lose bloody 30% of that straight away. Dane went digging in the bloody Pac-Man and the entitlements manual. Dane went to the ATO, got a ruling. There you go, Deb. There's the fucking document. Don't tax the RA. And obviously then it bumps up the borrowing capacity to the true and accurate position of what the cash flow of the property is going to be. So he's just like, oh, my God, man, that's so good. I didn't even think to do that. I thought to myself, yeah, Dan and I were doing this for about 2.5 years before Dane joined us. We didn't fucking think to do it either. But anyway, it's...
I'm probably the only guy that's ever downloaded it, ever fucking printed off the tax guide for that.
Mate, even though the tax laws are used to be this much, now they're this much still. True. You're probably still the same dude that reads every single oh, honey, hey Jess, it's been a lovely year, but tonight's my night to read the new tax rules.
Chapter 4, let's go.
Budget.
We do. I'll concede to that. On budget night, I actually sit down and bloody tools down. I don't speak to any clients on budget night. It's probably one of my very few nights off.
Tax minimisation, though, is probably one of the last real frontiers, right? Let's be honest. If you can sort of grapple with that, it can improve your wealth incredibly.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's what I'm getting for a lot of the clients, that build a house in the last 18 months. They're like, we just got our first tax return back from Jason. I'm like, how'd you go with that? They're like, when I was in the art, when I didn't have a property, I was getting $2,000 or $3,000 a year in my tax. We got $9 grand back this year. I'm like, I told you that was going to happen. That's the power of depreciation and being able to write off all the operating expenses of the property against your individual tax return. So I guess people, no one could understand the feeling of having quadruple the amount of tax come back in your life until you've actually fucking felt that occurring. And oh, by the way, you bought a $500,000 asset that's now worth $550,000. So you've made money and you got tax back at the same time. That's a double whammy in the 2 thumbs up. So I'll tell you what, boys, let's give everyone else a bit of a whip around. So it is a great opportunity for you guys to get an understanding of what the 3 coaches do here at Axon. So we basically go back through our calendars and sort of share with you a couple of stories from the trenches, I suppose, about what's going on in some of the connection calls, some of the coaching sessions, some of the hurdles that we're up against and some of the wins that we're having in the property specialist lane, et cetera, et cetera. So who wants to start us off, fellas? Good answer, Dave.
I'll kick one in.
It's been voluntold. Benny Hansel's in the house as well. I hope your ISO is going well, buddy.
Who we got? All right, I'll kick off. So my thing I want to talk about is the commitment to processes.
Go for it.
Developed. Yeah, I know it sounds pretty fucking nerdy, and Dan's probably like, where is he going with this? But
I don't even know.
So Dan, you were like this one. I had a connection call with a fella a few weeks ago who was fairly steadfast that he was running it solo, even though he's got a couple of Billy Lids and so on and so forth. He's like, no, mate. It's mine. I'm like, I know you think that. I said, but it's not. It's ours. Not me, but ours. This is the family. And a little bit of mine. But because I'm going to have some emotional vested interest in it. So we sort of had a thing. I said, look, man, in the end, we had the process that it's you and your partner and you're both a decision maker. Right? As much as there's always one that's more dominant, and I see it with everyone, I don't care. We still want you both involved. It's not you just run down this way and she just sits here. I said, it ain't going to work that way, brother. And he goes, all right, might not be for me, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, if you don't want her to watch the video, which is only an hour and a half, man, I said, I'll watch fucking movies longer than that. I said, if you can't commit an hour and a half, then that's fine, man. You just let me know when you end. So anyway, got off the call. And then just before I jumped on tonight, I was saying to Robbie, I get a message. He goes, hey, man, it's me. Can we take the next step? I've spoken to her. Yeah, it's going to be a combined decision. I was like, sweet, man. That's fine. Boom. Sent an email, locked in, ready to go. So it's just funny. Like, you get a lot of it, Dan, and you and I are on all of those connection calls now, mono in mono. The amount of people that jump on who are just thinking they're a solo Sam, to the point where we've even gone and put a note that when you do book your connection call, if you do have a significant other, when I'm talking about that, an MWD or an MWDU, because it's going to be reflected on your payslip anyway. So as much as you want to be a fucking Reggie runoff and do your own thing, it ain't going to work, because in the end, the bank is going to see that and go, says right here, dickbag, dependent, tell me about that. Who are your dependents? Where we're going to go? And we're going to roll from there. So let's just cut the foreplay. Let's all get in the room together and let's walk forward as a team, right? And it's nice because I think just having that realization, because it does. There's no fucking shortcuts. You're not going to shortcut around the bank. It just doesn't happen anymore. They'll take 90 days of your statements, mate. If you're drinking 6 schooners and smashing a palmy every fucking Friday, they're going to see that. So we might as well just go forth. So I like that we just stick with it, go through it, and in the end, they come back, right, in a way, because they know it has to be a combined decision.
Yeah.
Quick question. Is there something wrong with the schooners and palmy? Is that no-go?
Frequently. They're on mine.
Right. One of those things. Do you remember about 2 years ago, they came out, as Debbie saying, oh, my God, Dane, you are on fire. Let the passion flow. Do you remember they said, these bloody millennials, if they're having smashed Avo on toast, they're never going to be able to buy a house because they can't save any money. They're spending too much money on Avo and toast. Fucking hell, what a bloody waste of time that was. Go for it, Dan. I just didn't make that point.
I don't know what the point was, but thank you for that injection.
I like titties and fucking schooners.
No, I suppose for me, Dane, we had another gentleman today that we were speaking to, relatively senior in the Defence Force, and we sort of said to him, and I was like, hey, man, like, I get it. You're the one, like, again, professional wife. He's a very professional military officer as well. They've got 2 young kids down in New South Wales, homeschooling. I'm really, really sorry for every person that's down in New South Wales and Canberra at the moment. My heart absolutely goes out to you, having to juggle your lives and careers and children and all that shit that's going on at the time. But he just sort of said, it's like, look, my wife's really busy. She's told me to go take the lead with this. And even then, Dane, I'm like, look, man, I get it. But this is the path that you're going to go down. You're going to go out. You're going to make a plan. It's going to seem awesome. You're going to speak to the broker. You're going to understand the numbers. You're going to learn about the process. You're going to choose a location. You're going to choose the house. And then all of a sudden, let's call her Laura, is going to come in through the side door, glance over at your screen and go, oh, that's interesting, honey. Why are we buying that house? Why is the tapware silver? Why isn't it black? I wanted this. I wanted a 2-story house. I wanted it in this location. Why isn't it down the road from us so I can keep an eye on it? And she'll just dive bomb the shit out of the entire plan. And as soon as that story gets told, right from and I say that story very, very fondly because it's happened lots and lots and lots and lots of times. Like, I don't just make these stories up, right?
Yeah.
But at some point in time, the missus has to get involved. She's going to have to sign the mortgage documents. She's going to have to sign the contracts. Like, you can't just avoid it. And so when it was sort of explained to him, he goes, yeah, well, obviously now I'm going to start to bring my wife along to these things. And it's like, it's only a couple of hours of your time to be on board with the plan. You need to understand what you're achieving from a macro perspective, and then the rest of that other stuff can be worked out in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually, Dane, let me go back. Dale, I've got your comment, brother. I'll come to that in a second. That's really, really great to know that Callan's had an amazing outcome there. Outcome focus is what it's all about. What is the end state? I haven't had it for a while, but certainly I was talking to my business coach today, and he's just asking about our updated processes and stuff like that. And I said, look, it's all based on education. As coaches, we want to educate, guide, and mentor and provide services to our clients based on what they don't fucking know right now. And I said, the bottom of all of our marketing stuff involves them to actually sign up for watching a bloody 90-minute video. And if anyone ever comes back to me and says, oh, a 90-minute video, fuck, I haven't got time to watch that. This is what I say to them. Listen in, ladies and gents, right? So, wait, I'll tell you what. It's interesting that you say that because this is your financial future that we're talking about. You've just said to me that you don't necessarily know what you're doing. You don't know everything about the property market. There's lots of pitfalls and lots of stuff you don't know about. Can you just say that again, that you're too busy to watch a video that's going to, cover off on all those gaps for you? Say that again and listen to yourself saying, I don't have 90 minutes to invest in my financial future. Do that for me. Go ahead and say that. They never fucking do. They're like, all right, we'll watch the video. And then they fucking fast forward and watch the video. They're like, oh, man, this is awesome. I can't wait to get started. I've learned this, and this. I was like, no worries. Now I'm your guy. Now we can sort of talk. And like, guaranteed, Dane, would you agree? I think to sort of close off on some of the stuff there. Here you go. 1.5 hours from early retirement makes the time champion. Absolutely. Like, it's a fucking good use of 1.5 hours, right? Highest and best use of that time. How different are people when you talk to them after they watch that 90-minute video? It's like chalk and cheese, isn't it? It's like fucking it's
two different human beings, mate. Two different human beings from that perspective. So
yeah.
There's always the Chinese whispers, right? When you get those ones as well, like, oh man, I'll just tell them. And you're like, nah, man. Are you going to give an hour and a half brief with 2 people and go through all the slides? Because in the end, like, it's Chinese whispers, man. They will get different parts out of that than you will, that you will find important. Same with the coaching, man. Are you going to sit down and do 2 hours of coaching, going through it step by step by step by step, fielding every question they have? Have you got a PowerPoint license? What's the go? Like, it can't be swayed. And I found once it does happen, how streamlined the process will go.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's only 1.5 hours now. I remember a while ago we tried to like scale it right back, and we were like, this is going to be a 60-minute brief, ladies and gentlemen. Next thing you know, 2.5 hours later, Robbie's still going a million miles an hour when he's really in the groove. And I mean, just bringing it back now to 1.5 hours is really just the baseline information, right?
Yeah.
To bring it down to that timeline is just the very, very minimum information you need. And now we just pile more and more and more and more stuff in on the coaching session. And in the process briefs and the risk management briefs as well is where the real gold is now kept as well. So it's a very, very useful tool to get you to start thinking, I suppose, is the best way of doing it.
And I remember, Dan, when you and I were trying to pare it back quite a bit, sure as shit, the very first person we'd speak to that ask a question or have an objection to something, I'm like, fucking hell, that was in the brief last time. I should have just fucking left it in there. So I was like, we were like chasing our tails. It's like we were going round and round in circles. Like, we're trying to take stuff out to try and shorten it, but that's the important shit because it's all fucking important.
Mate. And then there was a discussion. It's like, so which bits does everyone have to watch? I'm like, all of it. And they're like, it's an hour and a half, all of it. There's nothing that's not important. There's nothing that's not valuable in there from a process perspective. So, yeah, it's bloody phenomenal from that perspective. Mate, Dale Johns has a special note there for you, RT. Hi, Robbie. Just
Yeah,
to thank you, mate. Got a couple of hiccups. Bro sold his property for a profit of over $110,000 in less than 8 months.
Yep. How good.
Not too bad, right?
We were actually asking Jane about that in the office a couple of weeks ago. Wonder how Mr. Cullen went with that. So yeah, mate, what a fucking fantastic outcome. And you know, sure as shit, there was a couple of hiccups with that build. There absolutely was, and there was some fucking blood on the floor, metaphorically. There was a tear shed, not mine. But fuck, at the end of the day, mate, when that was never going to be his forever home, it was always going to be a little lily pad home. And it's not about a little fucking lily pad when you got a rocket booster up your ass to go to the next fucking property. So that's really, really cool. I'm really happy, Dale, that that's how it worked out, mate.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about the net result at the back end of it, right? And when that property was designed to have that effect of getting in there, taking a property off the market, getting a bit of capital growth, either be able to leverage out of it or to be able to transition into the next property, then I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but I'll take $110,000 in 8 months every day of the week. That seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, fuck yeah, 100%. Lads, in 7 minutes, I've got to jump off this call. Would you believe? I'm speaking to the amazing.
All right. What have you been doing for the last week, then, mate?
I've got the amazing Matt and Tegan that I need to speak to, who we've been waiting for like 18 months to bloody put the final pieces of their plan together for them to go ahead and build their second property, Dan. So I know you and I coached them together back in the day, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. You please do say hi to Matt and Teagues for me.
Yeah, mate, for sure.
Certainly miss that crew, mate, when you sneak off with some of those clients like that.
Well, ditto. You've got some superstar clients that I had an amazing relationship as their coach, and now they're like, actually, I prefer talking to this Dan guy. I'm like, I know, everyone says that. It's all fine.
I've got the same problem with Dane. We just keep improving the iterations of coaches as they come through.
I had a good little,
universal soldier.
Yes, mate, it is. The universe, it just keeps on bloody replenishing. Speaking of which, and the whole crew know here we're in the process of finalising the recruitment of another amazing property coach who'll come in at the property specialist level, and then he'll join us on here at some stage. He sent me a message this morning, and he's like, "Oi, country boy." He's like, "Oi." He's like, I just want to remind the awesome work that you and Tam are doing. He goes, "I cannot wait to come and join you guys and have an opportunity to contribute to the defence community as well." And I was like, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Actually, no, I love being called that first thing in the morning. But anyway, mate, thanks for the sentiment. All good.
First time.
He's
I was messaging him in the background. I was drawing off. I reckon he was on like a text message rant, and I had to step out the door. I reckon I came back to about 15 messages, mate, where he's just like, ba-ba. And then at the end he goes, "Sorry, man, I just woke up and I've just given you like word spew and it's not coherent at all." And I'm like, I know. Let's speak next week.
And Debbie, I absolutely will say hi to Matt and Tegan for you. That just like I said in my opening little salvo there, we'll put the final pieces together of their plan. The numbers will come across to you. You give us a thumbs up. Bang, we're into it straight away. So that's what's going to happen. Mate, what have I been doing? So I actually had a really, really amazing opportunity to coach some clients, not in the Defence Force, 2 serving police officers down in Sydney.
All right.
So effectively, my brother-in-law is a brother and sister-in-law actually are a police force couple down in New South Wales. And obviously we've been talking to them, and the family talks about work and property, and like no doubt Dan and Dane, you discuss your sort of post-military career stuff with your family. And yeah, I got a cheeky little introduction to some amazing clients down there, and we've basically put the plan together. Deb, I do owe you a quick little brief there as far as talking you through the plan before you get in touch with them. And yeah, it was actually really, really cool for a change. Like, it was a great affirmation that the culture in the police and the emergency services is the same as us. So it was a really, really cool little session actually. So it was if you guys remember my Robbie's rant that I did last week, that was the inspiration for that, because he can't get access to the first. So he's already burnt his first time owners grant. They're living together, sleeping in the same bedroom under the one roof. As soon as that ticks over to the 6-month mark, I know that you want to buy the property by yourself and then to protect her first home owners grant. But I'm like, sorry, bro, it doesn't fucking work like that. Come in another 3 months' time, when you guys have been living together for 6 months, you're in a de facto relationship as per the sort of the eyes of the law anyway, or one could be seen that way. And just like Tamara used her first home owner's grant by buying that amazing property up in Cairns that she held for 12 years and sold for a $30,000 profit. That's $30,000 profit. I fucking missed out on my first home owner's grant. But I guess the crux of the story is there, if you guys haven't sort of listened to the Robbie's rant, is that chasing $15,000 from a first home owner's grant is having the tail wag the dog. Put a strategy together to go and make $110,000 in fucking 8 months. Then you won't give a fuck about 15 grand back in the day. So there's always a sort of a different way of thinking about it. So that was something different, which was really cool. Yesterday I had 2 end of build coaching sessions with Claire and Callum up in Darwin. I'm just looking at my calendar here. I don't have a very good side profile, so I try not to keep it on there for too long. And then of course Tim and Renee last night took up their second success package. So they're now full steam ahead. They're getting posted to Southeast Queensland, one of the locations up here, and they're going to go ahead and buy their own home. Pull the trigger on the HPAS, pull the trigger on the first home owners grant. They're still toying up about DOHAS, whether to sort of, chase the DOHAS a couple of $100 a month and be sort of hamstrung into 1 or 2 lenders, or get the full suite of stuff coming their way from Deb. I think it's more than likely going to be the latter. In fact, I'm sure it's going to be. So, mate, as always, buddy, I'm having some really, really awesome conversations, and it's great to see clients evolve that were wondering if it's going to work for them, being nice and cautious when we first met them, doing the dance, go through the first property, have it end of build coaching. They're like, oh, it's so good to see you. Fucking high five through the screen. So again, it's a really, really great part of being a coach, fellas. Would you agree? Is the evolution and the coaching and the confidence and the understanding that our clients give back to us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Dane, you were saying to me this afternoon, even, mate, because now you've been in the seat for a while and you've got a fair few of your own clients that are coming back through that pipeline now. You're like, geez. When I've got the end of build coaching session, I've got my 6-month checkups, I've got my 12-month checkups. Geez, your calendar gets busy. And I'm like, yeah, man, absolutely it does.
Yeah, private conversations, mate. I was saying to him that my first quarter this year, I was so raring and I was so impatient. I was like, where are all these clients? And now I'm like, fuck. Every time I look, I'm like, this one, and going to the bank value. I've got this one, I'm calling this bloke. And I was just saying to Dan, I was like, so quickly, my time has just gone and just that. Whereas at the start of the year, I was like, so I'll do that. I'll do that part. I'll do that part. Now I'm just like, man, I don't know if I got the capacity to do that.
Right, yeah.
So, but it's one of those things, Dane, that it's an undertaking that we give to every single one of our clients. And I think it's a very, very significant point of difference. It's not just, hey, you've got the house, see you later, mate. Or you've signed the contracts, enjoy someone else building your house for you and I'll see you later. It's guiding through that entire build process, put the property manager in place, get your insurances, get your depreciation report, make sure you got the right accountant. But that final piece of the puzzle is the ongoing journey, because it's not just one property. One property does not make a property portfolio, right? But oftentimes it's, you get to the end of the first property and you're like, well, that was fucking awesome. I want to do that again. But how do I get to the next one? And so that the numerous iterations and the journey that you go on for the end of build and 6 months later and 12 months later and just the flow as you go through that. RT, I know you need to go.
See you, everyone. See you in a fortnight's time. Thanks, boys.
Hey, buddy.
Thanks.
Oh,
bye.
Thanks for coming along for 30 minutes of your session this month.
Fuck you.
I'll tell you what, Dane, doesn't it pay to be the boss, hey? You're just like, you know what, guys, after 30 minutes tonight, boys, I'm like,
I didn't know we could do that.
Just getting a bit tired. And
I'll put stuff over my next one. But, mate, you're exactly right. I think one of the biggest ones is so many people, and it goes into finance structuring. And I love that Deb's here because she's amazing with this sort of stuff. But when we sort of move through that, how you're posturing with the bank and the sort of loan structure you take up, how that can position you to go get your second property. Whereas so many people just go through, they get slugged a mortgage and they go, oh, yeah, well, that's what I got. And then they're just on that train.
Yeah.
and they just pound away. They never go and review rates or anything like that. Never look at splits or anything like that. They just go along, you know.
Yeah.
So I think having someone with their finger on the pulse is really beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, a special shout out to Deb. I know that she's very active. For any of you who are listening today, like if you need to, or if you even feel like you should have another chat with Deb to review your rates and your structure and stuff like that, like you can obviously go straight to Deb. Deb, can you type in your new email address too, please? Some people might not have that new email address that's handy, but just making sure that the structure is all in place. And obviously all of our clients can come back to us for ongoing coaching, but the structure that you put in place, Dane, during the construction might not necessarily be the right structure for you at the end of the build, which might not necessarily be the right structure for you when you're buying your third property or your fourth property or whatever it is when you're going into the consolidation phase. Is every stage has got different financial structures, right?
Yeah, definitely, because you're adding another asset, right?
Yeah.
And how does that complement the asset you've already got in your portfolio? How are you going to make sure that you're getting the best bang for buck? Good debt versus bad debt is massive when you start going through that. So, mate, let's see.
You're going to call for Jai Simmons' question. Let's do it.
Taking us 12 minutes to get to it. 14. Sorry, Jai. Right. We love you, man.
All right.
Robbie's
no, can you just throw up Jai's question there? Do you want to take this one first, Dane, or do you want me to rip into it?
Oh, man, I'll throw out. Like, to be honest, squatters' rights. So I'm not super over it, to be honest. Like, I think it's adverse possession is something I sort of rings a bell with that. And you have to have a certain amount of time. I think if so someone comes and occupies the property, and the landlord doesn't know anything. I think they have to be in there for almost 12 years. I think it's 12 years, or is it longer? Yeah. It's a fairly long period of time. So usually, if that's the case, like when you have someone who goes in and they just go, "Oh, I'm not paying rent anymore," or whatever, QTAC. You go through that sort of go through QTAC. You'll have them out the door. You know, it's a bit of blood going through that, but it is able to be done a lot quicker than 12 years, let's be honest. So I think when we talk about sort of squatters' rights, when they go in, they're more occupying a building or a property or something like that isn't being used. And it takes a little while to get that, and then they can sort of put that in. So we're talking about sort of derelict buildings and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
where they're sit there for 12. Am I on the right track with that, Dan? Or am I?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think as you sort of put forward there, you would have to be relatively negligent and not monitoring what's going on with your property to fall down into that trap. I mean, if there's a rental application a rental lease that is in place, you've got two sides of a contract signed, everything like that. And even when that, like, let's call it a 12-month lease ends, you still, from a contractual perspective, even if you don't sign another lease, there's a month to month rotation. So the only times I've really seen squatters' rights come into play is certainly those older properties that people might have been sitting on in land banking that are derelict, as you sort of said there, and just certainly not at a condition which would be providing you a rental income as well. So, Joy, I know for your property, brother, like, unless you woefully change your direction in if we're heading this way and you decide to go that way, mate, I think that like you might run into some trouble. But as the process goes with yours, mate, like I don't see squatters' rights as a problem per se. It's relatively rare that you might see those, and there's pretty special set of circumstances there. I think there's even something in the law that says it's got to be a time limit, and there has to be some level of agreement that they are there in that period of time as well. So there's sort of, you have to have a very unique set of circumstances where this actually comes into play.
And realistically, will they be met? Pretty rarely, to be honest. And when they are met, then it usually hits the news.
Yeah. So when was the last time you heard about squatters' rights? Like not that long ago. But I suppose on the back of squatters' rights, I think one of the things that recently has come back up, and for those of you who bought a property during COVID, one of the things that you couldn't get at that point in time was actually a rental default clause inside your landlord's insurance. So what would that rental default clause would be if someone stops paying rent, for example, then you claim back on insurances for a certain period of time. So there was a large period of time when the government said, hey, you can't evict tenants if they stop paying rent, if you remember that, Dane, back in the day during COVID. So a lot of the insurance companies reacted to that, and any new policies that were written over sort of the last 12 months or so haven't had that rental default clause. But now we're absolutely seeing like the full pivot back that most insurance companies are now providing that rental default clause, and you can add it as a supplement onto your current insurances and everything like that. So make sure, ladies and gents, if you've taken a property on in the last 18 months, you get back in touch with your build support team if they haven't been back in touch with you already, and make sure that we certainly get that applied to your circumstances.
I think the government was trying to, because they also, from a landlord's side, not that we advocated for this, but when it was sort of going through, they did try and play the Team Australia approach, right? They sat there and said, oh, well, we can do 6 months. You can defer your mortgage repayments and so on and so forth. And I think there was a few rental subsidies that were offered to landlords on the spot of that, but I think they were very much in go mode and make sure that people weren't getting turfed out initially. But yeah, it's last year feels like a different world, man.
Absolutely.
Like the environment that we sat in going through there. I remember people talking about property going down 30%. I think it was the AMP economist was saying it's a very real thing. And now since all the people who risked it for the biscuit back then are killing it, man. Like I with one of those end of bills, I had Pat and Beth, which you actually coached, and I was a property specialist at that time. And I was sort of saying to you, delivering, and I know it's the market, and the market has delivered the growth, but it's still great to physically deliver the news, if that makes sense. Like, hey, your property that you bought for 510 or 512 or whatever it was is now 610, and they're just like, fucking amazing, that's great. I'm like, yeah, you're welcome. But realistically, it's the market. But Deb, I took that thank you for both of us, and have carried it since. So, but it is really good because they went through, and Beth was quite heavy on the questions back then. And she said to me, she's got a book this big, page by page by page of notes from going through all the coaching, and then obviously going through the acquisition phase, build, and everything like that. So, mate, really, really lovely to work with people who are at that stage in their journey.
Yeah, far out. There you go. Hey, I see Junior's just posted up a bloody property developer So I'd need to read into it a little bit further, but my understanding is, the only story I know about of a squatter is in Sydney. So very few and far between sort of stories there as well, Junior, that you've sort of come up with there. Steve, now that I know it's you, mate, using your lovely other half page there, certainly I know Robbie and Tammy were fortunate enough to join you guys the other week, so a massive congratulations from the rest of the team if it wasn't passed on from us as well. So there you go. Junior Herman claimed it for 20 years, so he certainly surpassed the 12
years, smashed it out of the park.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Out of the park. So, what's been going on in your world, man? What have you been up to the last 2? Obviously, apart from fishing, did you even catch any fish?
Mate.
Nah.
I don't want to make too many people jealous, but it was probably among the best fishing I've ever done in my life. Put it that way. So from a breadth and it was blowing out. Like the wind was blowing at like 40 knots as well. So it was pretty blown out up there. But even then there was plenty of good fish on the line. There was plenty of beers and there was plenty of wine. So there was nothing to complain about from that perspective. I can give you the hot tip.
I had a different visualization when I was picturing you going up there. I pictured you at the front of a yacht, like just sleeping out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. And it was going to be like a real rough time. But then when you explained to me, like, oh, well, we stayed in the island. It was great. We had breakfast every day. And I was just like, what? This is nothing like when Robbie's told me about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, it was RT sort of described it as like this real derelict island. It's absolutely not that way, obviously, if you have a look at the website that Benny Hinton put up there before. But for me, mate, it pretty much meant after I went up there, I pretty much had 2 weeks worth of clients to speak to in the following week. So I reckon I probably spoke to about 20 or so of my clients throughout that period of time. A lot of which is sort of going through their reiterations. But one of my favorite conversations that I was fortunate enough to have as soon as I got back was with one of our longer term clients who's bought 2 properties. He's just brought his partner into the journey. I'm in the stage. I'm in the show. We've gone back live. I don't know what's happened today. He might be able to hear me in the background. But one of the things this young gentleman was able to do is we've lost Dane. There we go. So this fine young gentleman, he's got a couple of properties under his belt. But one of the main goals he had when he first came to Axon that he told us about is he wanted to be in a financial position so that when the time was right, he could go ahead and buy a house. There we go. I'm back. So anyway, on Monday, we finally got to that position. He's got a property. Here we go. We'll give it another red hot crack. It looks like Noah's working through some tech issues here, but we'll give her a couple of seconds to go forward from here. We'll see if we can get Dane back online in the next 20 seconds or so as well. Oh, the dog, Paul Cooney. How you doing, buddy? You must have the best reception in all of Sri Lanka from that perspective, mate. I know that you still have a standing invite for me to be able to come across there, buddy, as well. To enjoy the fishing that you have over in that part of the world as well. Benny Hinton, the story's not meant to be told. Mate, I can just get in there really, really quickly and say we're finally at a point in time where we're going to achieve he's back. We're finally now at a point in time after he's bought a couple of properties that he's now going to be able to go and buy that property for his mum in the location that she wants to be able to live in. And then she's going to be able to move into it basically and be free of the rental trap for the rest of her life because her son's been in the position to buy property. So that was my favourite call of the last week, mate. In summary, one of our clients achieved his number one goal, which was to be able to buy a property for his mum to live in.
Wow.
So
I'm glad I was hearing that whole story, Dan.
Yeah, mate. I've told it like 3 times because it kept on jumping in and out. But yeah, it was great to get a positive ping back from Deb as well, saying the numbers all work, and now he just gets to go shopping from this point forward as well. So it's a matter of making sure it all fits together.
Mate, and we've been, I guess another thing we're probably doing at the moment is going through and doing a fair bit of stuff on our research. So it is, and I'm sure for a lot of the people we have here today who have gone through that process where you go through and you do your research brief, they're all being updated, which is one of those tasks where I said to Dan, I've got huge capacity to do this. And now I've quickly realised it's a big job going through. But we are actually making it more inclusive of all current data that we're going through to continue to support the areas we're going into. But it does look good, Dan. Like even today, we were sort of going through it and we're reviewing it and looking at all the stuff. It has gone a lot further than you and I could have ever done when we used to sit there and just record it. And then
just talk and drive around the screen. Mate, sometimes I feel like I get concerned that the team might not like me too much because I get the brief after everyone's gone through it and they're like, yeah, this is good and we've done this, we've done that, and then I sort of send it back for another couple of days worth of work to be able to sort of make sure all the bits and bobs have been sort of encapsulated before I want to release it out to sort of the remainder of our team, because it's really, really valuable information, and the professionalism with which the remainder of the team has now been able to make these products is just next level from that perspective as well. So I'm really, really excited to get those out on the street from that perspective as well.
Very, very much so.
I'm looking forward to you starting on the next one as well, mate. So it'll be good fun.
Oh God, I'll check my calendar, mate, for that one. Throw it in there.
Just get it in there over the next few weeks, so that'll be bloody brilliant. What about you, mate? Well, let's talk to the future, because now we've got, I suppose, 2 weeks between these sessions. In my mind, we've got like, yep, what have we been covering off on? But what's some of the big stuff you're looking forward to? Like, what's upcoming in your life from a work perspective? Let's keep it out of general life perspective, unless you want to talk about that stuff too. But buddy, what else is happening in your world, mate? And what are you looking forward to?
Mine is, I guess another thing, and I know it's very, we've talked about the land being really hard to come by all year, and I'm not going to bang that drum anymore to everyone who's listening, because we all know the story there. So it's been one of those things where we sort of spoke about talking to a developer builder. So they run in one. Yeah. So, usually you have the developer who's there and goes, all right, sweet, I've got this plot of land. I'm going to cut this up and I'm going to go to the council and get this all ready. And then you'll have the builder that engages them, right? And the builder might come in and go, oh, take that on put and call, or you'll have like the retail punter who will go through the sales office who wants to live in so on and so forth. So I guess one of the things when we do talk about land is that if you're able to foster a relationship, and it's one, and they're an extremely reputable builder, is being able to engage one that says, hey, we do it both, mate. We go in, we secure the land ourselves. We go through and do all the DA stuff with the council, and then we actually build all the products as well. So I'm really looking forward to hoping. I'm really looking forward to that becoming a reality, man, to be honest, because I think as we've sort of moved in. And it's great to talk about the growth, Dan, and it's great to say, hey, look, we've had clients who have gone in here, and we even had one jump on earlier tonight who said they made 110 grand for 8 months. Is that it's the market, right? It's the market that is moving. So we need to be ever diligent and keep moving with it. And that is fostering new locations, right?
Yeah.
Because those locations that are growing is fucking awesome for the clientele that we got in there. And they're like, mate, how easy was that? I just picked up 150 grand and I haven't done anything. But I'm talking about the people who engage us now and go, hey, man, I want to get started. I'm like, cool. Well, we could have gone here back in the day, but I'm all about looking forward. So let's try and look deep dive into these locations. We need to find the next thing that is going to grow. So we have a few there, which is great. And we're sort of moving clientele into that. And that's probably been one of our biggest pushes, that make sure that our research data is there and readily available. Even though we go through and we do it, it's being able to put it in a presentation format and making it that it can go out to people and they can watch it. And it's easy to watch. Last thing we want is people to think it's mandatory training, right? Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, man, the future of that, because we don't want to turn and say, hey, man, you need 750 grand to get started, because you don't if we go to the right spots.
Yeah. What do you think about that, mate? Just where do you think it's going to grow? Obviously, we've seen $100,000 of growth over the last 12 months or whatever was sort of mentioned before. The president of the RBA has also come out and said he's not going to change rates in order to sort of stymie the growth or the acceleration of the property sector. Like, do you see the property sector still continuing to go on those leaps and bounds, or do you think we're going to start to see a slowdown over the next little while?
I think I don't have a crystal ball, but I do. But I'll grab it. But the thing is, I think there's historically, and I love that graph. We started saying pretty much on my desktop. We would bring it up and we talk about house prices that are growing. I think it was from 1900 all the way through. And there's corrections, right? But we talk about plateaus and so on. I had the dot-com boom and bust, and then had the GFC and so on and so forth. So it shows these corrections and it moves through those sort of patterns. I think too, obviously coming off the back of COVID, where it was a very bearish market last year, it's been quite bullish, right? Where you almost have some people with FOMO going into stuff, into locations. I think there might be a plateau in a way. Like I don't think it will go down, man. I don't think that would happen. I think it might steady for a bit. But all it really does is it allows almost the economy to catch up with it, and then it surges again. So I think that's what we'll see. In the end, when we look at sort of locations, even though we talk about 7 key ingredients, one of my biggest things, man, is transport. And you and I are sort of talking about a location today where we were traditionally, and we both sort of sat down, we're like, oh, well, you know, mate, if you go up there and it's time to get out to the road from, you know, and we were very, very picky on it. Whereas you turned to me and said, hey, man, check this out. There are plans that there's going to be a highway that cuts in behind from this location. And I was like, fuck, dude, that if that happens, then the connectivity there is
game changer.
Yeah, is a game changer, because people want to be able to get to where they work, right? Yeah. They need to be able to get around. If you're not, like, it's one of the 7 key ingredients that I'm seeing so valuable is fucking transport. Being closer, as population grows, it gets more congested and stuff like that. You need that freedom of movement to move around, right? People don't want to sit, and they do it down in Sydney, but people don't want to sit for 2.5 hours trying to get to and from work. You just don't have the time.
No. I mean, and it's certainly been one of this particular location that we've been speaking about. It's certainly been the thing that holds it back from my perspective as well. Is that we just need to have the transport corridor, because it was a shit fight, to be perfectly honest, to get into this location. Still is, but it's the ability to visualize forward. And even when I'm out there and I'm speaking to lots of people who work in the property investment sector, I've asked them this question over and over and over and over again. And I've told them, this is the issue that I have with that location that you guys are sort of talking about. And they're like, oh, yeah, I don't know what they're doing to fix that, but it goes on from that. So it was that one ingredient, the 1 out of 7, that even though we had 6 out of 7, I was like, no, fuck it. We're not going to that location until you can nail that problem down, because it's bloody difficult from that perspective.
That's it, man. We got a question from Big Benny Hinton, my main man. And I'll throw it over to you, Dan, and then I'll sort of tack on the back of it. Do you think that when Queensland opens its borders after reaching 80% vaccination, that it will affect Queensland housing prices, as COVID is no longer pushing people out of their state due to the lockdowns?
but I'm going to borrow Dane's crystal ball. I think that once Sydney, Canberra, and Victoria, when they get out of this latest shit fight that they're about to have, go through their next releases, it's going to reinvigorate, again, Queensland and all of those more lifestyle locations that people have been drawn to over the last little while. I don't think we're done by a long shot. I think you'll still see way more interstate migration, and then once that ticks its box, I think as soon as that happens, then the next step's going to be they'll open the international borders once we're back up at 80%. There's obviously already a plan to be able to bring in those people that have been overseas for quite some time, start to open up the country again when you're going to have the have the quarantine facilities at it, like the international border points and everything like that. I don't see how it's going to slow down, to be perfectly honest, Ben, because it's, have the interstate migration to Queensland and some of those sort of desirable locations. Then you're going to have international arrivals are going to start reinvigorating that. And at the moment, like you already know, Ben, there's a huge amount of land shortage out there. I read an article the other day, Dane, and I sent it to you. It must have been Sunday night. I was
just loving it, mate.
On the old Stork book, and I sent Robbie and yourself a commentary for Southeast Queensland. And it's like, well, if you go to this location, this location, this location, and this location, every single one of those locations are running at about 50% of the requirement that's required for the population growth in the areas. So in short, what I'm saying is location A needed to have 4,000 houses built per year. They're running at about 2,000 dwellings. The demand is through the roof and supply can't keep up. And just pure economics is going to tell us that when you've got demand through the roof and supply not in equilibrium with that, then you're going to see growth in prices. And when you got dudes that are sitting down in Sydney that can sell a $2 million apartment and come up and buy a bloody $500, $600, $700, $1 million house in cash, you're not going to slow anything down, man, because it's small change compared to some of the other markets in Australia. And Queensland is just catching up from what they've missed out on over the last few growth cycles in New South Wales and Victoria, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's funny you said that too. I've got a mate. He was down in Melbourne for many years and he's moved up and he's living in the Gold Coast. And I was sort of hitting him up and he goes, oh, mate, the lockdowns, we end up moving. And I said, oh, do you reckon and I pretty much a similar thing, Ben, where I said, oh, do you think, once it all sort of calms down, do you reckon you will relocate? And he goes, well, one, it is expensive to relocate a family, Dane. Fucking in the RAF, Toll was paying for it, so you probably don't understand that. But I'm not going to uproot everyone again. We just did that. We moved from south and we're up in Queensland. And he goes, mate, and Queensland's fucking cheap. He said, compared to what we were looking at down there, he said, it's cheap and it's good living up here. So I think maybe a lot of that sort of will still lie in our favour up here, I think, and keep driving sort of demand. And one of the other things that Dan spoke about was international migration. Like it has been on the back burner and no one's thinking about that now, but that has been something that's been put stage right. And when we do get there, and we will, the economy.
Our borders will open again.
Yeah. And then I think there will be another surge there. So, but that's crystal ball thinking, right?
Yeah.
Having tomorrow could change it all.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like the real litmus test for me, Ben, is you sort of ask the question of anyone who's talking to you about, oh, do you think you should buy property or not? Like I can talk to you about till the cows come home about why, but at the end of the day, I'm getting my $50 bills out, brother, and I'm doing it right beside you. I'm buying property. I'm doing that. I'm increasing our portfolio. Yes, that property went up by $100,000, but if I've got the fundamentals right, I think it's going to go for another $100,000. So I'll buy another property. Like, sure, I might have missed out on 100, but as long as you're doing something to move forward, then you're going to get a bit more out of that. Yeah.
And Benny's got a great property up there, man.
Did you find that or something?
Benny, but it's a fucking great one because the land.
Yeah, mate. That'll be cheeky little cash out of that bad boy.
Absolutely, man. Mate, what do you got on after this? Bearing in mind we're coming up to the 7:30 ticker.
I've got a little hour of power with some wonderful clients and friends of Simo actually up in Darwin. We're going to do a little quick 1 hour session. They've got a young family and they don't get to do calls until 7:30 at night. And then I've got like 1 hour where you can actually get attention out of people generally, because by the time 8:30 comes, mate, most people are absolutely fragged from that perspective.
That's it. And did you say small kids?
Oh, mate, Billy Lids, love them.
Yeah, everywhere. What about the guy we had today who was talking to one?
No, yeah, absolutely. It's one of those, that's an unenviable position, those people down there in New South Wales. So, yeah, you go, Benny Hinton. Bloody love the new property being built. Had James and Jane visit it and video chat with us as well. So, mate, I'm watching it very, very closely for you, Ben. It's one of my little pet projects that I'll continue to, like, that lot as a collective, mate, is something that I just keep a far closer eye on overall as well. So just to make sure the whole system's flowing from that perspective. What about you, buddy? Are you taking the rest of the night off, Dane?
Mate, disappearing after this one, I think. Unless no, actually, I don't. I thought I did. I'm actually catching up with the gentleman we spoke to today, man. I'm doing another call after this just to touch base with him, and then he's going to go through and do his initial coaching stuff, which will be great. And start getting that plan together. So I think one of the things that I'll sort of double back around, hopefully, Ben, you'll be able to come up, mate, and see it for yourself. And I know it's been something that we've had sort of there that it's just constantly saying, well, we can do this, and then there's lockdowns and so on and so forth. But I assure you, mate, once you are able to, you and Beck, that I will be ready and waiting and raring to go when you get up here, and we'll go for a few beers. So look.
Mate, that's all you wanted. You're just like, and we can go for a couple of beers when you come to visit.
That's my lead in, though.
No.
Lead in, and then it crux down to it. It's like schooner.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Ben, you're pretty keen to come up and visit, mate. I've got clients that bought their property in the same location as you did, albeit 2 years early, and they still haven't seen the place, mate. They haven't gone through it in person yet. They're just like, all right. It's all operating. We'll see it when we see it. And they're bloody sending me messages today, quite chuffed with the amount of cash that they've made from that perspective as well. So you're in a fine location, my friend, and I think that you'll do very, very well out of that bad boy as well.
That's it.
Sweet. All right, if I can be a little bit cheeky, Noah, let's start to wrap this up, please, buddy. It's been a ripper night speaking to all you. Benny Hinton, thank you very much for being here. The dog, thank you for making us international tonight. And Nikki, you're... I know you're not stressed about it, buddy. Yours is kicking along. It's doing its thing and everything like that. But certainly thanks for being there. And do go ahead and watch all those new videos, Nikki. I'm looking forward to getting your feedback from them, buddy. It'll be great.
All right.
Anyway, Noah, thanks very much, Dane. Thanks, guys. I'll speak to you soon.